If I stop singing, oh, that might be the end of me. I've got to sing. I've got to sing. Yes, and I'm no good.
For over 5 decades, Jeanne Trevor has been entertaining music lovers in St. Louis. Although she calls the Gateway City home, her musical roots began at amateur night at the famed Apollo Theater in Harlem, where she grew up.
A big name spot, and it was only on at the end of the regular show, which meant you came on about midnight or something. And if you didn't make it, this guy would come out in a funny thing with a water pistol and shoot you off.
Her entire family was gifted musically. Her mother loved to dance, and her brothers and sister all sang just like their father. Jeanne thought Hollywood would offer more opportunities. She spent 4 years in Los Angeles, but struggled to book gigs. It was a cousin who convinced her to give St. Louis a try. It was the early 1960s, and he described a hip and happening arts and music scene in an area called Gaslight Square. The veteran vocalist has been a fixture on the St. Louis jazz scene ever since. She recalls a memorable visit from the late actor Vincent Price, a St. Louis native.
He came to one of the nightclubs that I sang at, the Black Horse, and I was sitting at the bar on my break, and someone said, "That's the singer that you were listening to," and he came over, and he was so nice, so gracious.
Oh, Brooklyn, get on the A train.
The versatile singer doesn't categorize herself as a jazz performer. She prefers to describe herself as a modern American singer and has no problem detouring into cabaret, gospel, or even Latin music. But she's still the local queen of scat.
You must take the A train. You get your Sugar Hill in Harlem. And if you wanted to scat that same melody, you go, you do Sabadunda, Saduya Dunday, Sidle, you have to pretend if you were another instrument, or you can riff.
And what my heart is hurt takes my breath away.
Her influences include Dinah Washington, Nancy Wilson, Billie Holiday, and Ella Fitzgerald.
My background was theater, and I wanted to be an opera singer, but you had to go to Europe if you were black.
In 1967, her voice was heard on St. Louis radio, but not for her singing. She became a DJ at the former KADI radio on the FM dial.
I spun records of jazz people. You just name them. It was hip at that time. Fish gotta swim, birds gotta
Roles in Showboat, Kiss Me Kate, and Les Miserables at the Muni Opera came in her later years.
till I die, 'cause I can't help loving that man of mine. That's why I like the Muni too. It was an opera as grand opera, but it's still opera. It's stories and it's beautiful music.
The longtime crooner says she's most comfortable performing live, like here at this free concert hosted by a Ferguson church not far from her home. She cut her first album in 1965 called Jeanne Trevor Sings. Much to her chagrin, they didn't use her photo and they misspelled her name. It was another 33 years before she cut her second album and her first CD. The album, Love You Madly, was given high praise from music critics like this one who writes, Trevor has all the tools and knows how to use them. She combines the phrasing and delivery of Billie Holiday and Ella Fitzgerald. She is comfortable with all types of tunes and at ease in any tempo.
You're listening to the wonderful Dave Venn Trio. These are my friends from Gaslight Square.
We get along great musically because I know where she's going, she knows where I'm going.
Lately, Trevor has reunited with keyboardist Dave Venn and drummer Henry Etman.
We've all kind of had our separate paths, but then when we come back together, it feels like, it's like an old coat that you put back on. It just fits and feels really good.
They've performed with each other off and on for 60 years, ever since the heyday of Gaslight Square.
They were fantastic because the action and the crowds that would show up every night. I'm talking 6 nights a week.
Years later, those many performances in smoke-filled nightclubs took its toll on her heart. Her doctor performed a triple bypass.
He knew I worked in clubs. He said, "Are you still smoking?" I said, "Stills? No, I've never smoked, but I had been in a big part of my life for hours. So that was secondhand smoke that clogged my arteries."
Today, Trevor performs with a leaky valve, which she admits makes it harder to hold a note and control her breathing.
Part of the jazz vernacular is you have to go with the flow, so that's what we do with Jeanne. If she goes one place, we just go with her.
The longtime crooner has been honored with a Lifetime Achievement Award from the Grand Center for her contribution to St. Louis arts and culture.
Ladies and gentlemen, the First Lady of St. Louis Jazz, Jeanne Trevor.
This is just a little samba based upon a single note. Well, other notes are bound to follow, but the root is still that note. Now this new note is the consequence of the one that I've just been through, as I'm bound to be the unavoidable consequence of you. There's so many people who can talk and talk and talk and just say nada, nada. I have used up all the scale I know, and at the end I've come to nothing. Oh, nothing. I go back to my first note, as I must go back to you. I'm gonna pour into that one note, oh, the love I feel for you. Anyone who wants the whole show, re mi, fa sol la ti do, will find themselves at no show. You gotta play the note, you know. There's so many people who can talk and talk and talk and talk and talk and just say nada. I have used up all the scale I know, and at the end I've come to nothing, nothing. I go back to my first note, as I must go back to you. I'm gonna pour into that one note, oh, the love I feel for you. Anyone who wants the whole show, re mi, fa sol la ti do, will find themselves at no show. You gotta play the note, you know. Find themselves at no show. You gotta play that note, you know. Find themselves at no show. You gotta play the note, you know. Thank you everyone.